Can a woman have multiple men? I'm like, if she wants, sure. Not for me.
Yeah, not for me. That's exactly.
No man that you would want wants any parts of that.
I am not a misogynist or a bigot because I don't want to be with a woman who's like that.
I'm looking at eradicating the problem, and I always put it back on me, on a man, on us, on fathers. It starts with fathers, you know? When women are up, first of all, I won't date a woman who doesn't have a good relationship with her father.
Yeah.
Not just a relationship, but a good relationship. Like, she respects him, she loves him, he's her hero, you know? So it's like my job to take his job, you know what I'm saying? To topple that if I could do that, right? But it's always the father. Like, there's a show on Netflix called My Lover, My Killer. You ever seen it or heard of it?
I've heard about it, yeah.
All right, so this is about people in relationships and their significant other kill them. I watched 2 of them and I had to turn it off. It's fascinating because it's an interesting story, but it's so fucked up and so shitty. Both people that got murdered were young, and I blame the parents. To me, it was the parents. Your daughter should have been protected, and not putting herself in situations with assholes like this. And then the father was like, yeah, he was kind of rude. I'm like, what? Like, you okayed that, right? So it's like, it starts at home. I feel like everything, education. Look, I have no knock towards any system that we have in our country, but I don't trust any system. See, that's the thing. It's 2 things, 2 powerful ways to close the gap to get a woman. Be very aggressive in a cool way.
Yeah.
Or show no interest at all.
Yeah.
You know, and my cousin told me that, the show no interest part. I asked her, I was probably like 19, 20. I'm like, Dion, what drives y'all crazy? She said, she's older. She says, when there's like some kind of mutual attraction, but he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, you telling me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that's part of it. So yeah, I'm never ever thirsty, right?
It's definitely one of these situations where there are attraction. There's a great book. It's called Why Women Have Sex by Cindy Meston and David Buss. He wrote the same Evolutionary Desire book.
Okay.
In the book, there's 238 reasons why women have sex, which means that there's infinite reasons why women have sex. And one of them is called mate choice copying, but in Red Pill, they call it pre-selection. And it's the concept of that as other women choose me, more women then choose me. And then when you look at that, what that would mean is that there's a group of men at the top who have an exponential number of partners. But if you do the math, then that means there's going to be a group of men at the bottom who don't have any. And then when we look at the numbers, it bears out exactly that. The top 10% of men on Tinder get 63% of the right swipes. The top 20% of men on Tinder get 83% of the right swipes. So if you want to correlate that to women, the top 43% of women get 63% of the right swipes. So that's a much more normal distribution. Right. And there's another one I saw was really incredible. 5% of men on Tinder are right swiping and getting connections. Something like 63% of women. So when women want to meet a dude on Tinder, they meet them. It's very easy. Yeah. When men want to meet a woman on Tinder, there's this small group of men, 5%, that are getting anything they want, and then there's a large group of men that are not. And the reason why is, again, the phone, while it gave us all access, it gave the most access to the men who had the most to offer, and very little access to the men who didn't. Right. So the guy doing the drive-through at McDonald's, he's like invisible to a lot of women. That problem, that problem of inequality, which is described so eloquently by guys like Richard Reeves, who's a PhD, and Dr. Scott Galloway, and by David Buss. The description of that problem is just such level of inequity that it's discussed as a problem. But the reason why this problem isn't discussed is because the idea in academia of men being disadvantaged is not something you ever discuss. Men are never disadvantaged. Women are only disadvantaged. Minorities are disadvantaged, and people of alternative lifestyles, LBGT, they're disadvantaged. Men can never be disadvantaged, but of course we know that's not true. Men are 9 times as likely to commit suicide after a divorce as women are. So that we know that's the case. Having the discussion, however, is politically incorrect, and that's the reason why we get into this situation where you have an overcorrection, possibly, where some people, definitely not the guys we were referring to earlier, but some people in the red pill community, it's just, I hate women now. Yeah. That can never be the case. You can never hate women. Right. We need them. We're better together than we are apart, like Rollo says. So it's just a really interesting socioeconomic discussion that a lot of people are afraid to have. And because serious academics don't want to have that discussion, they are now. GADSAD's having it. Like I said, Chris Williamson, David Buss, Scott Galloway, and Richard Reeves are having this discussion, but a lot of people don't want to have this discussion that are up there. What happens is people who don't have the credentials are having the discussion, and sometimes they have the discussion irresponsibly, and then that's where we get into the situation we're in right now.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
That word simp is a weird word,
you
know, but I don't want to have an adversarial relationship with women.
Yes.
And I don't, you know. I could recognize when people And when women in my life, friend or something romantic, when they're off, I try to correct them. You know what I mean? With care, I try to communicate in a way that they will receive it. So my last relationship that I ended last year, one of the things that I wanted to do, I try to learn from every situation,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, you know what? We're not together because of communication. Even though I think I'm a good communicator, I could be better, right? And, I just came to the realization that language is an inferior means of communication.
Yes.
The fact that there's different languages tells you that right
it's
there, right?
It's an imperfect, very imperfect form of communication.
Even when we speak the same language, there's times that a person cannot properly articulate what's in his mind or in his heart. Even me. And I think I'm a good communicator. I'm like, damn, I'm not nailing this right now. So just to being more intentional about it. Like when you put something there, it makes it more real. So not just me being able to articulate better, but me being able to receive information better and hear you for real. And sometimes, because women do not answer direct, they're not binary like men. You know what I'm saying? It's, it's cubism. Is abstract art.
Yes,
you know what
abstract
I mean?
art. Getting it. That's really funny.
Exactly. And I'm all right with that because I'm not gay. I don't want a guy. So be a woman.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to help curtail, and get you streamlined a little bit just with this communication, so we could have a good channel. So, but yeah, it's interesting. But I love the complexity of a woman. When I got somebody is when we go out to eat for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't really know how to take me yet. And I look a certain way, so they think I'm just a certain way. Yeah. And then just the intellect just steamrolls them, and they're so comfortable. You know what I mean?
Well, with the girls,
yeah.
They usually have a pretty strong opinion about me before we meet, just because there's so much of my content. They can watch me talk for 50 hours.
Right.
But it's funny. My girlfriend now had never heard of a podcast. She was 20 years old when we met, and it was
good for you.
Yeah, she's 21 now, and it was really interesting. She had never heard of a podcast, so a lot of people think she's with you because you're rich, and I'm like, no. My girlfriend met me. We were on a resort in Mexico. She didn't know if I was poor, rich, nothing. Yeah. So it definitely wasn't like that.
20-year-old ain't locked into money like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah.
I'll tell you a couple other things that I thought were interesting.
Can a woman have multiple men? I'm like, if she wants, sure. Not for me.
Yeah, not for me. That's exactly.
If that's what you want, go for it. They don't. No woman wants that.
Yeah.
They just talking to talk. They want me to be like, oh, well, no, it's not fair. Like, no, it's fair. If a woman can pull that off, go do it. I don't want no parts of that.
Exactly.
And no man that you would want wants any parts of that.
I am not a misogynist or a bigot because I don't want to be with a woman who's like that.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I'm also not a misogynist because I don't want to be with a woman I'm not physically attracted to because of whatever the thing is. Because that doesn't make a woman a misandrist because she chooses to be with men because they're over 6 feet tall. It's funny how women really, really have an issue with men being short, but when men have a problem with a woman being overweight, all of a sudden there's this massive double standard that happens, and it's really problematic. And I think that is one of the things that the Myron and Fresh's content exposes.
Right.
What happens though is that some people in the community take it an extra mile, but they're willing to do $100 super chats, and they're willing to give you over 1 million subs. Like you have 1 million, you have 1.5 million, but they got 1 million quick.
Yeah.
And so did Pearl Davis. They got 1 million quick. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's different for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.